Tina, Huye, Tai Kie. Do we have any apologies? No apologies. And we have Charlotte on Zoom. And so the first item on the agenda is confirmation of the minutes of 10 June. I'm happy to move. Are there any, and you happy to second, Anaru? All in favour? Moving now to resource consents under delegated authority. Leah.
Between 12th of May and 30th of June, we processed 25 discharge permits, 10 land use consents and 3 audit permits. As at the end of June, we have 205 consents in process. 153 of these are replacement applications. Back in 2022, we had 540 consents in progress. So this is a big improvement to that total. Between 1st of July and 30th of June, we processed 401 consent applications, which is 11% more applications in process than the last financial year, which helped to reduce the consent backlog. And
there's really, really good progress.
Oh, it's obviously so. Why do you think that you're doing so much better now?
I think there was a lot of mahi done earlier to go out and get extra information in order to spice the applications. A lot of the applications that were received at that time they didn't have enough information in them, but because there was a lot coming in at once, it was quite difficult to do adequate Section 88 checks for the manager at that time and the small team. So
we've got more stuff.
Yeah, so now there's more stuff. There's a lot of work from other teams involved in getting it.
And do you think you're educating the applicants to provide more information sooner?
Yeah, it's not fair on them because it costs them more, and it's not fair on the council. It's not fair on the iwi. They have to look at incomplete applications, so it's much better to get something that's more sufficient at the outset.
That's great.
We also had quite a number of dairy discharge, I think over 50 that converted from either a river and land or water to land. We're still seeing that decreasing trend as well, and anything going to water that comes in for replacement to go to land. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have questions for Leah?
Just one question. In that chart, of course, of what you've done and so forth, drawn, what does that actually mean? Does that mean they decided not to, or does it drawn away and done some more work, or what?
What was the word, sorry?
Withdrawn?
Yeah. Through Chair, it can be a multitude of reasons. Some of the ones that were withdrawn sat in our backlog for years while the applicant considered what to do. We were quite proactive in that space, tell them that we were going to withdraw them, especially if they didn't need the consent any longer, but you just couldn't get hold of them to get rid of them. Some of them also, they decided they weren't going to pursue a particular pathway because it was too complicated or too expensive, so they would withdraw the application and reapply for a different activity. So especially if it's near a natural inland wetland.
Withdrawn, do these things come up automatically? For example, I used to have a consent on a culvert that was nearly built, and it lasted for 8 years, and I got a letter one day saying it's now
lapsed.
Is this the sort of thing?
Yeah, no, those just automatically expire. This is people that apply for things and never, it just sits there, they never see it through. So under the current legislation, you don't have an ability to just return it, but under the proposed legislation, it's something that
Right, Donna.
I did have something. I've lost it. Just how many have we got in those long times, that over 200 days? Are there any concerns there? I just see.
Through Chair, we look through them regularly with my team leaders and the team to see what we can do to keep progressing them and progressing them. Some of them are large applications, some are energetic consent, so going through the second program of that, which is progressing it, but it just takes time.
So we don't have any concerns with
no, we're being pushed over the last year.
Thank you.
Anything else for Leah? Mike?
Thank you, Chair. Just a conflict on raising down fertilised company.
If there's nothing else, can I have someone move that we receive and note paper? Benita, and seconded by Donna. All in favour? And thank you, Leah. And next matter, incidents, and that's Jared.
Kia ora, good morning. For you, Chair, compliant incidents, non-compliance and enforcement. This is a period 16 May to 30 June, so covers off to the end of the financial year. So the graphs in this are quite interesting to see because now we can see a trend of those non-compliances and incidents that are coming through on a yearly basis. From that, what we're seeing is incidents have declined year on year on year, and there's no sort of period of the year to which we're getting a big decrease. They're just decreasing constantly across the year, so I think that's really positive. A lot of that, I think, is due to the community understanding their obligations probably more and more, and the officers getting out there and just talking to everyone one-on-one. And so we're not going for recurring complaints as much as we used to. Also, page 70 graph illustrates the compliance monitoring non-compliances for the year, for the running total. And if you look at that, you'll see that there's always an uplift there between about August and October. There's always a steep climb in non-compliances during that time of year. And what we've seen over the last few years is that quick elevation non-compliances coming through is tapering off. It's becoming less and less and less every year, which is resulting in our overall numbers coming less. Now that links into Leah before. That's a direct link to the number of dairy farmers going out of oxidation pond systems into land-based systems. A land-based system, a farmer can walk across and assure compliance largely on the biometer, whereas oxidation ponds require, we sample them, and it's hard for a dairy farmer to ensure they're complying unless they're sampling and getting those samples analysed, which they can do, but it's not a common habit. So the fact that the number of oxidation ponds are decreasing, and number of non-compliances associated with them are decreasing also. And I think that's a large contributor to our overall decline in the non-compliance space.
I would have thought that your effective messaging and engagement with the applicants must make a big difference too.
Yeah, I think the team going out to the meetings with every farmer at the point, just about all consent holders at the point they're applying for those consents, the obligations are very what's expected going forward. I know the earthworks industry appreciate that a lot. The industry likewise, and dairy, it's all the same process. That works.
Oh, did you want to say something?
It's not a criticism at all, but because you are testing most ponds straight after or during spring at the highest rainfall time of the year, also the time where the ponds can't keep up or the water's going through so quickly that it doesn't have time to work the same. So it's also the hardest time for a farmer to comply. We're actually testing at the hardest time of the year also to get that compliance.
Yes, yep, you're quite right. We are. Stormwater diversions and things are huge. They help attenuation. As long as we can manage that system and attenuate it and not have stormwater flush it out all winter, then they can work really well. But we do test them when they're discharging. We go out in the summer, evaporation does a lot, they're not discharging. We want to make sure that when they are under pressure that they are working and we're not getting environmental effects. So we are testing them at that time. But farmers are better at understanding our stormwater diversions and pond management and things
Donald.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think I'm right in saying only one odour complaint from Mokau Road. Is that a result of slowing the activity, or are they just getting better?
With that site, it's largely, there's not a lot of activity happening
Okay,
at the
so
time.
it's inactivity.
A lot of the odorous material that was going to the site no longer goes to that site. So there is some composting activity happening, green waste, turning of product and capping. But the odorous materials are large. Not so it's large.
Do we know where that material is now going?
Yeah, we'll track that. So it's all going to certified places.
Okay.
Some of it out of region, all just.
Donna.
I just wanted, just some things, New Plymouth District Council wastewater, how many for the year? How many have we had?
I would have to get back to you on that one.
I mean, is it ongoing? Do we need, is there an issue or?
Good point.
I guess they can be broken into two matters. One, as far as how that system's managing day-to-day and dry weather versus how that system's managing in high rainfall events.
We're going to have more and more high rainfall events.
100%. So I feel that from 10 years ago, the amount of discharges we're getting during high flow events are decreasing. Definitely.
It doesn't feel like it sitting here.
But yeah, they're better. There is more reporting than there used to be as they got more and more data on their system. But there's still a lot. There's still the odd recurrence, one round rainfall that we need to sort out with them. And you'll see the Tihanui one is one that's starting to rear its head. That's popped up again in the recent rainfall events.
So are they doing anything about it?
They've done a lot to sections of New Plymouth, but I would have to go back to them and see what they're doing around the Tihanui. The Tihanui is a large catchment.
Every time, and if we are going to have more rainfall events, obviously this is going to get worse, isn't it?
Yes.
And there is an expectation.
And there's an expectation on all three councils. The
Yeah,
3rd and 4th of July, which will come through in the next agenda, the weather event, there was a lot of discharges, high flow discharges there. Again, the Tihanui, New Plymouth, Waitara, a few pump stations there that couldn't keep up, and then the same was Stratford with South Taranaki, and then there was the activation of all of those areas with their contingency wastewater discharges during high flow events. All of them have got consents of various nature that authorises some discharge of treated or partially treated wastewater, and they were all activated. So that was a significant rainfall event, but it does highlight how public systems. And we've noticed there is still some infiltration issues with areas like Alpha and STDC.
Are you satisfied that the MPDC is doing all it can to upgrade these systems, or because given that we all accept that there are going to be more of these heavy rainfall events?
Yeah, that's something we'll have to go back to MPDC again and engage and understand where they're at with their long-term planning and how much money they're throwing at it. I know that this council submitted on their plans previously to ensure that they keep doing the smoke testing and the infrastructure upgrades, but I don't have anything current as to how they're performing for those.
Are we able to ask you to make those inquiries?
From you, Madam Chair, we keep pressure on district council to minimise those discharges.
I appreciate that you do, but I mean, I think you've of course been in sunny climes. Well, the rest of us have all developed webbed feet with the quantity of rain that's fallen this winter. That if that's going to be replicated year upon year, then we're going to have a problem, aren't we?
So is it right that the one in Orange got caught? It's got signs up everywhere. I haven't seen them, but I've been told there's signs.
Yeah, so there was Eltham wastewater treatment plant. One of the pond walls failed, so it's a contingency pond. which they have a treatment pond. If the inflow exceeds the outflow, which it did during the rainfall event, goes into a storage pond. If the inflow continues to exceed the pumpable outflow volume, which goes to Hawera, then there's a consent that authorises a discharge from that pond. What happened is that pond was still looking into this, failed for whatever reason, the pond wall, so that has resulted in a discharge right down that stream, obviously. So signage has been put out, public comms have been put out all the way to Howley Beach. The team have been out there sampling nearly every day, trying to understand exactly the effects.
So is it getting better? Does it come back to where it should be?
It's STDC are patching it at the moment, effectively, doing a patch job as a whole with sheet piling and things like that with a construction company. And that'll be a temporary fix. And then in the summer months when it's dry, when the soil conditions allow, and I've got a permanent plan, I'll come up with a permanent fix. But that's still in the initial stages, so hopefully the next.
But if our walls had failed with flood, would there be hell right now? Dan's team hadn't done their job.
So I was actually going to point out that if I wanted to be competitive, it does seem to be a double standard at times with the council in comparison to individuals who have to comply under all sorts of arrangements. But I didn't want to bring up any negativity like that or point that out, so I won't.
We've had during this rainfall event, you know, we've had a number of issues come up. You know, the wastewater discharges at home, slashed. We've had some issues with slash and woody debris. Now, woody debris is not slash, and slash is not woody debris. So some of the beaver dams we're seeing, there's not a harvesting block in the catchment, but there's still beaver dams, for want of a better word, out of native vegetation and bits and pieces. We have had some incidents of slash mobilising of harvesting sites. All in all, the harvesting sites have actually held up really well. The forest industry have been really good at repairing those. There have been some abatement notices go out, but you know, we've been dealing with those. We've had blocked culverts, we've had damaged infrastructure, we've had slips, we've had people triggering emergency works provisions. We've had a lot of farmers calling us because their storage systems are not maintained probably as well as they would, and they're at risk of overflowing. And what are our thoughts and how do we best manage and mitigate that? So the rainfall, yeah, that definitely affected the district councils. One can argue district councils don't have the ability to turn off what's flowing into their wastewater networks to then fix the matter, to then open the tap and proceed again. They have to deal with what's coming in. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't have the capabilities to deal with that. So every situation is different, but you know, there are farmers out there that were struggling just as much as district councils.
Craig, then Neil.
Just because the conversation's gone that way, local, well, assuming that encapsulates wastewater, perhaps somebody, and all the councils are going to end up going it alone.
Yeah, can I add some context into some of this? And look, it is a very valid issue how it applies across all types of operators, discharges to farmers, as Phil was talking about, as much as the district councils and big industry that operates wastewater disposal systems, e.g. Fonterra. And there is a need for consistency, and what we know is there are now 3 regulators on the field and a number of standards that are being set nationally. So the decisions are going to be made in Wellington, and some of those standards are going to be quite different to what we have administered in the past.
Do you mean higher standards or?
Some of them will be lower. Some of them are lower.
So would that require the council to spend a whole bucket load of money on infrastructure to comply?
Yes, and indeed Tamararoa just released their latest National State of the Nation report in relation to water and wastewater discharges. And you'll be, well, through Policy Committee, we lodged a submission 3 or 4 months ago, I think, Finbar, to those national standards that were proposed for wastewater, and some of them are lower in terms of what we've traditionally had. And there are some interesting issues about the extent to, well, and the MPSFM, of course, is up in the air. but we may actually see a lowering of the bar in terms of what's been required in there. So those are issues that will have to be worked through, and absolutely one of the important issues is the impacts of climate change and what it means for whether you're a farmer or a district council or a new water services entity. Those schemes are expected to cope with basically anything and everything that climate may throw at them. And the RMA process, of course, allows Section 330 for bigger than design events, but certainly, you know, just where those lines get drawn in terms of how much capital investment you pour into these schemes to cope with stormwater infiltration and other issues that need to be worked through as part of that process, and decisions that will get made and have to be signed off ultimately by a Commerce Commission as a price regulator and setting of the funding constraints going forward. So we are in a changing environment. It's a topic that is probably worthy of further briefing and discussion with, as part of the new council induction program post-October, and possibly also worthwhile even getting some of the district council and maybe even some farmers in to talk about the practical issues associated with some of these intense stormwater events, which are far higher than we can reasonably expect and or reasonably expect people to invest to manage. So actually how we work our way through those issues and have to be worked through finding the appropriate balance.
Benita.
Sorry, with the conversation having swung in an unexpected way, just like to declare my interest again regarding Taumata Arawai, but also following up on Steve's suggestions about having people come in to talk during induction. I think Taumata Arawai would be a very important organisation to have come.
Cool. Neil.
Something very minor compared to all that. I just note that once again Fonterra this time still isn't doing its paperwork, and we had a number of this last month.
I'm meeting with Fonterra in the very near future to discuss a whole range of issues. So the matter's under control.
Is there anyone for any more?
I was just looking at that Tegel chicken thing, and I thought that's just when something seizes, that's just a lack of maintenance, isn't it? It's shocking.
Nobody for any more. Can I have someone move that we receive Donna and second Neil? All in favour? Aye. And moving now to predator-free Taranaki, Steve. You got a problem, Roll, managing the chair. You need to bring your own servant to push her around.
So this report was due to come to you before the meeting before last, and then the government in the budget 2025 made an announcement that they would disestablish the company Predator 2050 Limited, which is the company that we have been getting the funding from for the last 6-7 years. So I pulled it last minute, and we took some time just to figure out what was going to happen with that, so we could come back with you with lots of information about whether it's a spoiler alert. It should be fine. So to go through the actual report, there's a few key things in there I'd like to let you know about. Head to the discussion piece, and there's a map in the back that you might need to keep up with where we're going as we talk about where's fossil free and where isn't. But a rural landscape program. I did report this a couple of years ago that we had some sizable savings in that program over the rollout, largely due to the modelling of how many traps we needed in that space. Coming back that we needed less than we budgeted for. Predator-free 2050 Limited asked us to put a pause on extending that program and use that savings to put into our elimination project. So that's about making sure that we can reduce and get to truly predator-free rather than just a suppression program that the mustelids were going to be keeping them really low but not reducing them to zero. So they asked us to put the money into the possum zero bit, which is a little bit further down the page. Council had committed though right at the start of this program to move the mustelid maintenance into our biosecurity program and then support and require landowners to maintain those traps over time. That's not always happening despite people signing up to agree to be as part of the program. We're finding as we go and change batteries on the eco nodes and talk to farmers that it's become pretty suboptimal the amount of control that landowners are doing with the maintenance of their mustelid traps. So just a point there that we are, and I have said this before, we've been moving into using more of our regulatory powers in our mustelid program to make sure that farmers understand the requirements that they now have to check their mustelid boxes. I guess I'm saying that because you may get more complaints as people get warning letters and stronger discussions with them around keeping their mustelid boxes checked. Urban predator control continues to go really well. We've got district councils are really well engaged. We've got a whole bunch, I can't remember the actual number, but it's 70 odd something volunteers running up and down all the walkways, mainly in New Plymouth, but also in some of the other small centres, checking the rat boxes and the mustelid boxes all the time. In fact, sometimes I think the boxes get checked like 3 times more than they need to because people are so keen and just get out and doing it. That showed us some really good results in our tracking, which was done a month or so ago, and those of you who follow us on social media might have seen this, but the rat tracking's reduced from 36% of the tracks, the boxes we put out before the operation, now to 11%. So our rat numbers are definitely right down low in those urban areas. And importantly too, as an outcome, we've got our insects on the same cards have actually increased from 28% of the cards having insects in them to 44% of having insects. So the rats are down, the insects are up. I didn't mention here, but we have got a bit of a spike in mice. So we are going to be talking about...
They're mostly living in our house.
What are you doing about that?
Well, I have delegated it to the rat catcher, that he can now be the mouse catcher as well. So
it's a smaller track. So we are working with those volunteers to look at maybe changing out and doing some rat trapping, or mouse trapping as well as rat trapping, to see if we can do that.
Just a comment there, that New Plymouth are doing it very well. They are engaging with their volunteers at a very high standard, and I think that's a testament to what you see.
Yeah.
They do it.
Yeah, they've got,
Once they're over checking, well, that's just the support that they're getting from their team at the district.
Yep, they're doing a great job.
So what levels can we expect from some of these? You're saying you're getting gains, but where's the limit?
It depends. The objective in town there really is about suppression at the moment, so keeping them as low as we can. So I'm quite happy with those results. If we wanted to go to true elimination of rats in town, we would have to really up the game and put the traps even closer. A bit like, if you're aware of the Miramar Peninsula work that they're doing, they've got traps every 20 metres, whereas ours is more like every sort of 50 to 60 metres. Yeah. And they're checking them all the time. So yeah, it's a different ball game if you want to go full elimination. But I'm quite happy with volunteers are great, and where we're going on our program, I think that's a really good result. For the possum elimination group, this is where you'll need the map. You'll see block A on the map. That has now been possum free for over 4 years. So we've had a few individuals try and sneak in, but you'll remember the dog Peggy that we had in here. She's been helping us to find those and dispatch them as quickly as possible. So for all intents and purposes, Area A has been possum free for 4 years.
That's where I had trouble. You put in the report, removed. I'd like something more forcefully worded there.
Forcefully removed? Dispatched?
Eliminated.
Eliminated?
You don't want to use killed? Yeah.
No. So the Area B, which is on the front edge of Kaitaki Range there, that's had a few little incursions coming in. But now that the 1080 operation on Kaitaki was finished a few months ago, the counts in the C block have dropped right down, so they're not getting any detections in there either. So there's just a little bit in that B block where we've got a few possums where they live in the bush pasture margin. that we're still trying to take care of. But we're managing to keep them out of that A block. And the whole trial was to see if we could remove all the possums and then keep it clear, and we're managing to do that. That led to some more extra money, which got us into D, G, E, and F. So we're pretty clear now, or pretty confident now that D and G is possum free, and E and F, there's a few recalcitrant ones that we can't quite get. And the area that's showing in green was we did contracts, but not to an elimination standard, just to keep them down, to stop them coming back in. The test we're having now, and I've talked to council about this before, is how do we stop them across a farmland from coming back? And so we've got a line which is roughly between the blue and the yellow and the green, which is set up with a whole bunch of traps and a whole bunch of cameras and Peggy the dog running up and down, making sure that we can stop them getting back into that area. That led us to some new money, which is the embedded research project. So just February this year, we started negotiations to get some, or they came to us saying, can we do some testing now that you've got really low possum areas to see how we can make it more efficient to be able to detect the possums that are in that area. So
who was it with, sorry?
It was originally with the company, now it'll be with DOC. So they've given us some money to say, test how efficiently you can detect these possums. So we're developing some trials at the moment. We're in the early stages of it, but there's some really new tech coming out, locally developed. It's called HARK, and it's a multi-directional microphone with AI on board. So essentially it's sitting there listening to all the noises happening around it in the environment. The AI knows when a possum call is heard, and it will then triangulate it. So if you imagine Councillor Cloak as a detection device, and Chair Williamson as a detection device, and I'm a detection device. And we're all listening, going, is there a possum out there? Is there a possum out there? A possum comes out in the middle of the room here. We'll be able to triangulate that possum and then send Peggy in quickly. Instead of Peggy wandering around all over the place, we'll be able to triangulate that. So they're the kind of things we're looking to trial with this new money. And also some new AI cameras and a few little gadgety things that are not ready to be public yet.
What's the AI camera?
So that's a camera which is, at the moment, we've got cameras out there that take photos whenever something moves past it, but we have to swipe through it every month to see if we can see a possum. So these AI cameras will go, oh, that's a possum, and then send us a message. Rather than literally, we've got guys on wet days going, swipe, 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 swipe. So if you ever want to volunteer,
but hopefully we'll eliminate it. Surely that won't be a AI camera.
oh, so the AI, the cameras are designed and ready. Other people are using them. We're just trying to use it in an area where it's really low possum numbers.
So those possums that you've got that are recalcitrant in those areas that you want to get rid of them, are they males or females? You haven't got to that point yet? Or?
No, we don't know. Part of this trial may be in the A block that we actually stick a collar on a possum and let it go where we know there is no possum, and then check out if these microphones will detect it. And if it doesn't,
What did you say, Mark?
Hold it for possums, you know, like
yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I think it might be a bit
Expensive.
But yeah, we'll be able to go and find it with the aerial if we can't detect it. So some quite cool stuff going to be happening in this embedded research space. The last part, like I said, the government announced that they were making some savings, and part of that was disestablishing the company. So the company was set up with a single focus around predator-free. Because of those savings, they've looked at bringing that back within DOC, and we've got contracts along with 18 other landscape groups with contracts with the company. We've done the novation agreement, so all of that contracts have been taken over to DOC now. We've been talking with them for quite a while, and we work with DOC regularly, so I don't have any major concerns around that. I guess the only difference is that there's no longer that single focus for predator-free, but DOC have led the mission for a long time anyway, so I'm pretty comfortable with it. We're okay.
Hey, Mike.
Just a question through you, Chair. Just see where the government had disestablished the company Predator Free 2050, which is a limited liability company. So I guess we are a shareholder in that, the regional council. If so, are there any assets in that company that we can grab back or what?
No, we're not shareholders, sorry through the chair. It was a government-owned company. And so essentially they were set up to give money away and enable this research and these programs to work. So I don't think they've got any assets. But the company, the doc at the moment, are going to take over anything that they've had. They will take over all the contracts. Yeah, and we're working really closely with them on what that looks like.
Can you move your microphone closer because they're struggling to hear you? Because your gentle little voice.
I just realised, sorry. And that was me.
Oh, I was swearing.
Hey, so I just wondered with the predator free whether we could think about what it would cost to do a whole catchment group, and you know, to have a contractor and see what it would cost to do a big area for those mustelid traps.
We already have those figures.
Do you?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you, but so
can we? It would be worth maybe. I haven't talked to Paul about it, but maybe TCC could be part of trialling a catchment area and see what it would cost and whether we could split it between the farmers, just to take a bit off the end, and then it could be done. You know,
well, yeah, happy to look at something like that. We have those figures because we do the refresh, so that means we change the batteries in the eco nodes, you know, the nodes that tell us when the trap's gone off, and we clear the traps, so we have some quite good costing figures. It is not cheap.
No, but I'm probably not talking about the maintenance as such as just the getting the traps changed. Do you know what I mean? Yep. You know, because that's a big one, isn't it? And you know, on a monthly basis or whatever. So that was just a thought. But the other was you didn't say about like the Partia group who have got the traps. They're not funded really, other than the help that TRC are doing, and they're doing a pretty phenomenal job.
Oh, there's lots of people who are checking the traps. There's just, you know.
But that was totally unfunded, that Partia group, wasn't it? That was through sheer passion to do something. So I think we've got to give credit to some good people. And we have, they're volunteers as well. Hey, but so you know the zero possum, so we're doing this, but are we looking at what the results are? You know, what's the difference in biodiversity? What's the difference in farmland? What's the difference?
There is a monitoring program that looks at that. Part of the issue is it takes so long for things to recover that even at zero
but
possums,
we are doing something in that area.
And not just us, but nationally, they're doing that kind of research on what does it actually mean. What are your outcomes from doing it?
Because we need to know that. And what's the cost per hectare of doing this? Or is it, I guess it'll get cheaper, won't it?
It'll get cheaper. We were the first to do it. Cost per hectare to keep the possums out. I don't like using hectares because every hectare is different. It depends how much habitat's there.
I was just trying to get
So to keep A clear costs about $500,000 a year.
But I guess as the area gets bigger.
As it gets bigger, you'll get those economies of scale.
It's a lot of money, isn't it?
At the moment, we're probably spending 1.2.
Because we really need to see what those results are, don't we, to be able to. And you know, obviously the funding is going to get harder and harder to get. Do you see any private funding or international funding we could look at?
I guess that's one of the things the company we're looking at is to say, you know, what philanthropics can we use or international other funders that come in. One of the things in my head is that now that it's brought back in fully to government, philanthropics likely to want to give money to the government, whereas it was a company before and it was a bit different. So they'll work through all of that, but they've definitely been looking at what private investment could look like. Remember, there's lots of other groups doing similar stuff to us. So DOC being the lead for with their eyes over all of these pieces are looking at how can we make savings, and they'll turn around. And the company are doing this too. Taranaki found this worked really well, go do it somewhere else. How can we get more efficient across the country? Because it's not just predator-free Taranaki we're talking about here, it's the whole country.
No, but we just need to worry about us.
Tom, did you have something you wanted to ask?
No.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Steve, like, I know you did your blocks like A and B play, and you were talking a while ago about how on your boundaries you've got tracks, say, 20 metres rather than 50. You actually move your tracks sort of another 50 metres, say, towards the right as you get it down, or do you just wait and then do a whole block again? Because practically I would just keep advancing that perimeter.
So we do all of the above, really. So we have static traps where we know that they're good feed trees or play trees or whatever. So we know possums, if they're going to come to an area, will come to that particular site. Then we have traps that we move. We also use Peggy the dog to find out where the possums are. So we don't have to trap areas where there's not actually any possums. So we move the traps. But you're right, as we move towards predator-free New Zealand or predator-free Taranaki, it's about, what does the front look like? But the test at the moment across that green area is to go, okay, if we can do a block, can we keep it free while we do the next block? And then can we keep it free while we do the next block? And then how do we do that? And then that rolling front type scenario comes into play.
So at the moment you had
We were using rivers now, whereas now we're trying to figure out across paddocks, can we stop them?
Mike?
Thank you, Chair, through you. Just hypothetically thinking here, can we develop the traps a little bit differently, like we're eradicating possums, stoats and rats? Could we put wildcats?
Yes.
We're back to killing the cats.
Yes, we can. So some of these AI tools will identify which species they are looking at, and then in theory you can get them to drop a bait or a trap specific to that species. So this is all that quite real new technical stuff they're doing. So if you can imagine, some of them are like a tent, and they've got the camera looking straight down, and so if a cat comes in, it'll go, it's a cat, and it can drop a cat bait. If a rat comes in, it can go, it's a rat, it'll drop a rat bait.
Well, it's a rat bait, a cat bait.
Yeah.
And then put a sign there, they know where to go.
Donald?
Through Madam Chairman, talking about the RAP program in town, and then you're talking about checking all these traps. Could we get some of those volunteers from town to come and do some of that? That work of checking those lines in the rural area?
Could do all of that stuff.
Or does that take coordination?
Well, it would take coordination, and I guess farmers would need to be
open
to letting, yeah. But that does happen for some of the areas around the mountain where Kiwi are, where they have volunteers that go in for those properties immediately next to the mountain to stop any ferrets munching on a kiwi. So we do have volunteers doing that. But not wider.
No. It's like I say, obviously there's a pool of people there who are very passionate. If we could spread that passion a bit further, that'd be nice.
The Hardwick Smith block is one of those, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you ever get kids to go and check the traps? I mean, I'm just thinking of the high schools.
Yep, so I was going to say Boys High, but actually it's Grant Stokes. They do all the traps along Centennial Drive there, Trail to the Zoo, all that. So there's a whole bunch of school groups that almost adopt parts of the walkway, and that's what they do on their, when they get their slack period, whatever they call it.
Skive off time.
Their skive off period. So they go and do that. So yeah, our urban engagement people are always working with schools and the volunteers around that, and they be more involved.
If there's Tom? Oh, you move. Do I have a seconder? Donald, all in favour?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Steve, as always. Very interesting.
Hey Steve, I'd like to keep this.
Now we are going to move into public excluded. Tom will move. Craig second, all in favour?
Aye.
And we just need to give Madam Secretary a moment or two to sort the feed out.